Shame on you. I'm done.
This is about protecting women.
Can't do this anymore. No wonder nothing gets done in this country.
Over our bodies.
Shame on you.
Survivors of gender-based violence and advocates for women storm out of the Status of Women Committee after MPs vote to debate abortion instead of listening to them.
Women in this country are being killed and the other parties don't care. I'm disgusted. We need to be talking about this issue so that we can stop.
The special meeting was to hear about rising levels of violence against women and problems prosecuting offenders, but Liberal MP Anita Vandenbeld moved for the committee to return to an earlier abortion debate.
The Leader of the Opposition has asked Conservative-chaired committees to hold as many meetings as possible during the summer to take us away from the important work that we're doing listening to our constituents. And we also know that in this case, it was a few days' notice. We were not given, any of the members except Conservatives, the opportunity to put forth witness names.
Megan Walker, a longtime advocate for women, says she's never seen anything like this, and if Liberals wanted to pick their own witnesses, they could vote for more meetings instead of derailing this one. She was especially critical of Vandenbeld.
She has betrayed women and girls across this country who are hopeful that one day there will be change. One day they will not have to walk through their communities in fear. One day they will be considered to be human beings instead of objects.
Kate Alexander was to testify 3 years to the day after she was brutally assaulted by an ex-partner, suffering wounds so severe she feared she wouldn't survive. The charges against him were stayed due to the time it took to go to trial.
I said in my testimony, this government doesn't care, and she literally proved my point with hypocritical partisan nonsense. And these issues are nonpartisan. It is a human rights issue, and I've stated this over and over again.
The committee's sole Bloc Québécois member, also the sole voice of reason, critical of the entire committee for turning women's rights into another political game.
Personne sort gagnant.
Nobody wins after a meeting like this one. And unfortunately, the ones who lose are, again, women who are victims of violence. All women who are victims of violence.
Oh, yeah.
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. We're going to zip back in time and jump into the committee investigation hearing on the status of women, where Kate Alexander and Megan Walker were so disrespected by the NDP and the Liberal Party, it's unbearable to watch. But we're going to take a look. Let's get into this. Kate Alexander, Megan Walker, stay strong. This is hard to believe. These investigations are still ongoing. Wait until you hear the testimony. Let's get into it.
I will give the floor to Miss Alexander to start. You have 5 minutes.
Fortunate to be here today. I'm supposed to be dead. On July 31st, 2021, exactly 3 years ago today, I sent the 2-word WhatsApp message, "Please help," to a friend who thankfully believed me. My ex was beating me. All 6'3", approximately 250 pounds of him, because he couldn't find his car keys. For 4 hours, with his fists, his feet, a wooden rolling pin, door wells, he split my head open in 3 places, gouged my eyes out with his thumbs, kicked my ribs, and tortured me in ways I can feel but can't fully describe. I do not know how my body survived it. My ex enjoyed what he did to me. He threatened to kill my family. The police were going to leave me for dead, but my former neighbor intervened. And after all that, guess what your criminal and justice system gave me? A peace bond. All 8 charges, 5 in the provincial and 3 in the federal, were stayed against my ex. And I can't say his name because it will forever be known as alleged abuse. I ask of you exactly what I asked Justice Himmel, who had the tears in her eyes on March 26, 2024, when I received the peace bond. Why does he abuse, and why is he allowed to get away with it? He abuses because he is publicly and personally rewarded for it, and he is allowed to get away with it because you, the government of Canada, lets him. Abuse is a choice, a moral failing, and it is also inexcusable. Even 3 years later, my ex is still abusing me. I am suing him as the only form of legal justice I have left, and he has put in a meritless counterclaim as a continuation of abuse against me. He states I was self-injurious and I stole his Rolex after. He is lying under oath. You will listen to me because I am Caucasian, educated, and a member of an industry which holds space in the public eye. But these issues have been plaguing people everywhere across the nation for so long in the dark corners. But now we are in the light. We will shine until there is retribution. We will break the stigmas down into the nothingness that they are. There are no stereotypical victims. There are only stereotypical abusers. IPV and SA happens in all cultures, all socioeconomic statuses, races, ages, genders, but so predominantly with women and children. Today is not about me. Today is about us and what this means going forward. You have granted me the honor of speaking on behalf of all men, women, non-binary, and children, survivors of violence. And I want to state from a survivor's perspective, Trudeau doesn't care, Ford doesn't care, Arif doesn't care, and the government doesn't care. The government doesn't care about Courtney Goudreau, who faced potential charges and jail time for speaking the name of her convicted abuser when a publication ban was implemented without her consent. The government doesn't care about Brian and Suzanne Sweeney, whose daughter Angie was shot to death along with 3 innocent children. Brett and Jessica Broadfoot, whose daughter was stabbed to death 2 weeks ago at age 17, leaving behind her absolutely incredible 15-year-old brother Lucas. The government doesn't care about Melanie Hatton, who fled BC to Ontario after nearly being murdered by her ex-partner. She suffers long-term traumatic brain injury and still lives in fear daily with her 2 children, and now owes $300,000 to the CRA because her ex bankrupted her. The government doesn't care about Tanya Couch, who was sexually assaulted by her former commanding officer and cadets, but the military police failed to investigate it properly. The case was finally reopened, leading to 3 sexual assault charges, ultimately being stayed after the defense used Section 278 of the Criminal Code to subpoena 7 years of Tanya's personal counseling records. The government doesn't care about Alexa Barkley, who has suffered multiple SA throughout her life, with only one of her abusers receiving a mere 6 months of house arrest for child sexual assault. Or Daniela Halmos, whose ex has been arrested 6 times and faces 27 charges but is still allowed to go free, and despite her children not wanting it, is allowed to be around them. The government doesn't care about Sandy Proudfoot, who is 86 years old and just finally escaped her abuser, who has tried to bankrupt her while the police lost her victim statement and nothing proceeded. Government doesn't care about Cindy, whose infant daughter was so brutally sexually assaulted that she had children's toys put up her private parts. Her abuser is not incarcerated. The government doesn't care about Marley. After 3 years of going through the courts, she felt dehumanized by the process every single step of the way. She ended up fighting for restorative justice because the justice system doesn't provide justice. Or Britt Hess, who suffered from the same perpetrator and has experienced multiple assault, harassment, times of confinement wherein he was charged, but then breaches bail and all charges are stayed under his charter right. Or Julie McFarland, who has had...
May I just kindly ask you to slow down a wee bit?
Sure.
The interpreters
I'm trying to get in the 5 minutes.
The interpreters have mentioned to me that they are having trouble translating, so we'll just give you a little bit of liberty with some time because of the translation.
Sure. Thank you. Or Julie McFarland, who has NDAs used against her to sue her after she was harassed. Or Cassandra, who was nearly murdered from non-state torture and absolutely no charges were laid. Or Siren, who faced a menacing abuser who now has 35 charges and keeps breaching his bail order. Siren's life is in danger, but her ex was just granted visiting rights of their child. There's Fatouma Kosso, whose daughter disappeared after 18 years of abuse and ultimately was murdered by an American who shouldn't have even been allowed to cross the border because of DUIs. Or there's Katie Mayers, who suffered 17 counts of physical assault only to have her harrowing experience explained away. Her child will have to testify. There's Sarah Barber, who has worked tirelessly to shield her children from 3.5 years of post-separation legal abuse in the family court system after experiencing terrifying, relentless violence from a well-known serial woman abuser. Or Corey Lynn, who has a lifetime of sexual assaults starting in a childhood and conditioning her to intimate partner violence relationships and lengthy court family battles to protect her children. Or Travis, who faces bias from the system because of his sexual orientation. Or Heather Matriarch, whose name has been changed because she's an Indigenous woman and still lives in fear
Suspend the meeting. And for those of you online, I would like to acknowledge that there was a small suspension in the meeting due to a medical emergency in the room that has been hence sorted out. Thank you for your patience. At this time, I would like to take the liberty to allow Kate Alexander a minute or less, if you could wrap up just with some disruption. Thank you. Go ahead, Kate.
She is okay. Or Monica, whose 16-year-old daughter nearly committed suicide after her sexual assault. Or Lucy, who was publicly shamed with unethical tactics used against her to bully her for years after testifying, versus Jian Gomeshi, who sexually assaulted her and choked her. There's Dan Jennings, whose daughter Caitlin was beaten to death with a hammer in London last year. With the permission from each of these survivors, I struggle condensing these stories to fit into this speech. In all of these cases, there has been multiple police interventions, attempts to leave, negotiate, plead, pray, and run, only to be trapped and further abused by the system and, in some cases, murdered. We as Canadians have the Charter rights, which are essentially a get-out-of-jail-free card for criminals. But what about survivors' rights? Why are our Charter rights never accounted for? Most survivors try to leave, but that's when it becomes the most dangerous. 75% of murders happen after the victim leaves. And when we're not murdered, we are left in the dark, in a life that we no longer understand, with the most debilitating implications: physical, emotional, financial, mental, and spiritual turmoil. These are not insular struggles. They affect every system of government and every nuance of life: economic, healthcare, childcare, education, housing, etc. Canada spends an underrepresented and dated figure of $8 billion annually on the aftermath of IPV alone. This does not account for the violence of human trafficking, sexual assault, and the underreported cases, which are the majority. The science behind the effects of trauma is endless. Trauma changes the chemistry of your brain. You are not the same person. There is no getting over it. Healing only happens in community with proper medical and therapeutic intervention, and we know the state of the country as far as healthcare is concerned right now. Very few have access to these absolutely necessary remedies in a quantifiable way. Sometimes the effects of trauma are permanent. Could you also imagine having this pre-existing disability? A staggering 40% of disabled people have been abused. If you haven't met a survivor and victim's family, well, now you have. This is my parents back here. This is my passport, and I'm damn embarrassed. I can't live in Canada anymore because it's not safe for me. But yet, still, I have founded an organization here and in the U.S. called End Violence Everywhere, EVE, a now registered nonprofit. We will put survivors first, reform this justice system, and better the community. We need to work together because you cannot leave it up to the abusers. They do not self-rehabilitate, they do not get better, and they do not stop. In fact, they are empowered every time they get away with it, and they increase their violence. We are too late for tens of thousands of people, but we can prevent further atrocities. Canada needs to stop hiding under the guise of the nice country where nothing bad happens. It's bad, and it's happening right now. So here we present some solutions. Declare IPV and SA a national state of emergency.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
If you could perhaps try to incorporate what's remaining in your comments in some members' times, or how you respond to questions.
Certainly.
At this point, thank you very much for your testimony, Ms. Alexander. We are going to, at this point, move to rounds of questions from members. I would also like to remind all of those in the room, all of the members posing questions, that we are here about intimate partner violence against women, so let's try and keep our focus there. At this point, I would like to welcome Michelle for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to our witnesses. Extremely powerful testimony. To call this a crisis is an understatement, and the connection between each of your testimonies is profound. Kate, I know you wanted to finish and say a few more things, but what jumped off the page of me, what you said, above all of the horrific things, calling it alleged, and you have all of those photos of your assault, publicly and personally rewarded for it. Those are your words of your attacker. Can you expand on what you mean by that legally in Canada?
Thank you for the question. Abusers don't think in the same way that the average person does, and which is why they are able to commit the offenses that you or I wouldn't commit. Abusers get off on the reward of being allowed to commit these offenses. I have video taken of my ex and his enjoyment of what he did to me, and knowing that the government said, well, this isn't a big deal. And I will quote the Crown Attorney, we don't have time for this. So he is publicly rewarded because he feels like he is above the law. He is personally rewarded because he is 6'3" and 250 pounds. He can push me around no matter if I had a black belt or otherwise. He has a son who is in his care, and this was overlooked. There is an open case with CPS. Nothing was done. The federal ombudsman person has called on our behalf. Nothing was done. So his rewards are he gets to operate however he chooses to. There are no consequences for his actions, and I guarantee you if he is not stopped, he will be a part of the homicide statistics. He will kill someone. He came damn close to it with me on this day.
At this point, Anita, you have 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I want to thank the witnesses for coming here and for your incredible testimony. And I want to reassure you, both of you, but especially Kate, because you said that you don't believe that any of us care. And I want to reassure you very much that all of us on this committee care very deeply. It's why we've done so many studies on intimate partner violence. We've had testimony like yours that is very difficult to hear, but has been very, very important to put recommendations. And we believe you. Madam Chair, I would like to move a motion. And the reason I'm moving a motion is because in this committee we've respected each other. There are very important issues that we have said we've adjourned debate.
Is the most important issue we can address.
Debate, and I'm hoping that the committee could vote quickly on this motion, hopefully unanimously, so that we can quickly go back to the study, the witnesses that we have today. If we vote right away, it'll only take 5 minutes. But I would like to resume debate on the motion that we adjourned debate on May 13th, 2022. And the motion reads that the Standing Committee on the Status of Women report to the House that A, access and availability to reproductive health services, no matter where one lives in Canada, including safe and legal abortion, is a charter right and is ensured under the Canada Health Act. And B, the decision to have an abortion made by women, transgender, and non-binary individuals for any reason is their freedom of choice and theirs alone. So, Madam Chair, we have refrained from putting motions like this because of collegiality, but at this moment, we're not, and I hope we can do a vote immediately on this motion, and therefore we can get back to our witnesses right away, and we'll only lose 5 minutes in this meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We have a point of order.
Relevance to the motion.
Relevance to the motion. Absolutely, it is relevant to the motion. It is about a constant attack on women.
All of my years in advocating for women. We are leaving. We will not ever have...
Madam Chair, or sorry, your mic is not on, and no one. And at this point, we don't have space to acknowledge in this space right now.
I want to acknowledge the witnesses, Madam Speaker, because I'm the one.
The witnesses are no longer in the room.
Okay.
Can I adjourn the meeting? Leah, you still have the. Leah?
This is about collegiality. This is about using
Point of order, Madam Chair.
for a political agenda.
Collegiality is...
This
Point of order. Leah, we have a point of order. Leah, we have a point of order.
The witnesses have left status of women, and if we are collegial, I just think if we are focusing on women here, to resume here, they've actually turned their back and they've left. They were here to represent all women, which is what this committee is for. And the staggering stats that were recently released, and that is what's happened. And we need to get back to this. We need to get back to this testimony if we're going to help women in this country.
Let's vote.
We'll get back to it. Point of order.
Okay, let's go.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Anna, point of order.
I think what we've done today is re-victimize these poor young women that came here to speak not just on their behalf. She named multiple victims in her testimony. Multiple victims. So it's not about just one victim, it's about multiple victims.
And they were Indigenous.
And Indigenous, well, it should be.
Not a point of order.
It should be.
Oh, yeah. We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron, Canadian Looney, that one was a very tough one to watch. Many of the videos here are. We covered legacy media, the committee meetings, new things from the House of Commons, from Parliament, but once in a while we'll take a flashback and check out how things have really continued to go downhill. They haven't gotten any better under a new Liberal government. Come on, give me a break. Aaron, Canadian Looney, thank you for watching this video. Smash the subscribe, hit the like, come and join us for one of the live shows. Thanks for watching this video. We'll catch you in the next one. We're out.